A very good morning, my dear students. Welcome back. First and foremost, I would like to apologize for not being able to upload tutorial videos for the last week because I was ill. So, let's continue with the chapter that is sound, which we had started. Today, we'll be starting with the types of waves. Now there are two types of waves, that is transverse waves and longitudinal waves. Now this we have already studied, that sound is produced by vibrations in a body. If there is any disturbance that is produced in a body which brings about vibrations in its parts, sound gets created. So when the molecules get displaced from their mean positions, that is disturbance is produced and they start vibrating, then sound is produced. Now the direction in which the sound energy is traveling and the displacement that is shown by the particles of the medium, that helps us to determine what type of a wave that disturbance can be or that vibration can be. If the propagation of the sound, if the propagation of the sound energy is perpendicular to the displacement of the medium particles, I repeat, if the propagation of the energy is perpendicular to the displacement of the medium particles, then we show it as, or we call it as, a longitudinal wave. For example, when you throw a stone, you see ripples in the water surface, isn't it? So the energy gets transferred along the surface, but the displacement of the water molecules is at right angles to the direction of the propagation of the energy, or the direction in which the disturbance gets propagated. So that will be denoted by a transverse wave. Now, if the direction of the propagation of sound energy is in the same direction along which the molecules are getting displaced, then it will be shown by a longitudinal wave. For example, if you take a spring and if you stretch it or compress, you will see that the string, when we stretch it, it stretches in this direction. So the molecules show displacement in this direction, and the disturbance also gets propagated in this direction. So the compressions or the stretching of a spring propagates the disturbance in the same direction in which the molecules get displaced. Think about the example of a drum. When we beat the drum, first the skin gets compressed. Now when the skin gets compressed, the air molecules that are in close contact with the skin, they feel the disturbance and even they get compressed. And when they get compressed, they pass on the disturbance to the nearby molecules and they further get compressed. So the direction of the flow of energy and the displacement of the molecules of the medium is in the same direction. And when the skin of the drum bounces back, the molecules again feel that disturbance and the molecules further get back to their mean position by bouncing back. So in that case also, the propagation of the energy, the direction of the propagation of the energy is in the same direction in which the molecules are showing displacement. So here we see that the sound that is getting created by a drum is actually a longitudinal wave. Okay, so one to and fro movement, that is one disturbance that is being created in the molecules, results in one compression and one rarefaction in case of the longitudinal wave, which you will be able to see in this particular diagram. Rarefaction, compression, rarefaction, compression. So it is an alternative movement, that is compression and rarefaction. So this, if we denote in a graph, that is the displacement of the molecules along with time, when it is shown in a graph, we will see the molecules first gets compressed, they come back to their mean position, they again form a rarefaction, bounces back, they come back to their mean position. So here we see that the displacement of the molecules, as we know that displacement is a vector quantity, that is displacement is shown both by the magnitude and the direction. So the molecules, when they are getting when they are showing compression, they come back to their mean position, and due to the bouncing back, they again vibrate and come back to their mean position. So in the compression, what happens? The displacement, after the displacement, the molecule come back to their mean position, and again after the rarefaction, they come back to their mean position. So the displacement gets increased when they are pushed and during a compression, and this displacement starts reducing when they are again pulled. So after that, they come back to their mean position and ultimately their displacement becomes zero. So that is why in this particular graph, after one particular wave, they come back to their mean position, that is the zero line. Okay, so when they are getting compressed, they show a more displacement, and when they come back, their displacement is in the opposite direction. That means since it is a vector quantity, that opposite direction will be denoted by a negative sign. So the displacement in case of the rarefaction is negative. If we compare first the compression, then the displacement is in this direction, and in case of rarefaction, the displacement is in this direction. So it is negative, and ultimately it becomes zero after one to and fro movement, right? So this particular characteristic of a wave, or when shown in a displacement time graph, it has certain characteristics. First is the frequency. Now what is frequency? Frequency is the number of vibrations that can be brought about in the molecules in 1 second. Okay, so in 1 second, the number of vibrations that will be brought about in the molecules will be termed as the frequency of that particular wave, and the unit for the frequency is Hertz, Hertz, denoted by the symbol capital H, small letter Z. So if you look at this two graphs, in one particular, in 1 second, we see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 5 vibrations, or 5 vibrations are produced in 1 second. And in this case, 1, 2 and 3. 3 vibrations are produced in 1 second. So in the first graph, if I consider that time period as 1 second, then the wave A has a frequency of 5 hertz. That is, in 1 second, 5 vibrations are produced. And in wave B, the frequency is 3 hertz because 3 vibrations are produced. Okay. Now, the time that one particular vibration takes, here we see that in 1 second 5 vibrations are produced. Then the time that is taken by one wave, is called the time period of the one vibration. Time period. So time period of a wave is the time taken for one vibration. So what will be the difference, or what will be the relationship between the frequency and the time period? Frequency is the number of vibrations produced in 1 second. So if we consider the frequency as f, so f number of waves is produced in 1 second. So one wave will be produced in 1 by f seconds. Okay, so the time taken by one wave, which is now 1 by f, is actually the time period. So 1 by f is equal to t. So the relationship between the frequency and the time period is time period, which is denoted by capital T, is 1 by f. Okay. Now, in the disturbance, the displacement, the maximum displacement that is shown by the molecules is denoted by the amplitude. So amplitude is the maximum displacement of the vibrating object in the medium from its mean position. Okay, so from the graph of the wave, this shows the maximum displacement. So if we compare these two graphs, this graph shows a lesser displacement than this. So wave A has lesser amplitude than wave B, though both the waves have the same frequency. That is, in 1 second, 2 waves or 2 vibrations are created, though both of them have the same frequency, but the amplitude is differing. The first wave has a lower amplitude and the second wave has a higher amplitude. Now, the wave that has a higher amplitude produces a very intense sound. So here comes another term, that is intensity of a sound wave. So the intensity of a sound wave will be more if its amplitude is more. Okay, so a sound which is considered intense than the other means that sound wave has a greater displacement, or we can say the medium particles has shown a greater displacement than the other. Okay, so if the amplitude is small, it produces a less intense sound. For example, if you strike a tuning chord hard, it produces a sound whose intensity is more because frequency is more. But in case of the prongs, this is because the prongs, they are showing the maximum displacement. But if we compare the vibrations or the amplitude of the tuning fork with other materials, we'll see that the sound produced in the tuning chord is more intense. So sounds with large amplitudes produce more intense sounds. So Here we have learned about 4 terms, that is frequency, time period, amplitude and intensity. Frequency is the number of vibrations produced in 1 second. Time period is the time taken to complete one vibration. Amplitude is the maximum displacement of the medium particles from its mean position, and a sound wave which has a higher amplitude has more intensity. Okay? Now, we have learned that frequency is denoted by the unit hertz. Now, the audible range for human ears is from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. That is a sound wave which has its frequency in between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. That sound wave will be audible for human. But if the frequency is less than 20 hertz or more than 20,000 hertz, that will not be audible. So the sound waves that has intensity less than 20 hertz, those sound waves will be called as infrasonic waves. Infrasonic waves, and those sounds can also be termed as infrasonic sounds. Animals such as whales, giraffes, many birds and elephants produce infrasonic sounds to communicate with each other. We are not talking about the sound of the elephants, the trumpet of the elephants, but we are talking about the sounds that they produce to communicate with each other. So that is below 20 hertz, and those sound waves will be called as infrasonic sound waves. The vibrations that are produced during earthquake or underground nuclear explosions or tides, they are all infrasonic sound waves. And the sound waves which has frequency more than 20,000 hertz is ultrasonic sound waves. Now these are usually produced by bats. Bats give out ultrasonic sound waves, and those sound waves, when they hit the hard object and comes back to the bat, helps the bat to determine the distance of separation from that particular hard object, and that helps them to fly even though bats are blind. So dogs, cats, dolphins, they are able to detect these ultrasonic sound waves. Now these ultrasonic sound waves are used nowadays it is used for detecting any block in the heart, that is in echocardiograms. So echo means those ultrasonic sound waves will hit back and come back, so that is the echo. So those are detected in the cardiogram machine. So in echocardiograms and also the ultrasonic scans that are used by doctors to find any clot or any blockage in any part of the body. So all in all, we see that for the propagation of the sound energy, particles are required, because sound energy is produced when the particles are disturbed, when they are displaced from their mean position. So it is not possible for sound energy to propagate with the absence of the medium particles. So a medium is necessary for the propagation of sound. That is why we say that sound waves need a medium for compressions and rarefactions to transfer their energy from one location to other. It means that sound cannot travel through a vacuum where there are no medium particles. Now, if we talk about a medium, then a solid has particles more tightly packed. So the disturbance that one molecule will feel can easily be transferred to the adjacent molecules because they are very close. However, in case of liquids, it will be much lower, and in gases it will be much slower. So from here we can say that sound travels faster in solids and it travels the slowest in gases. Now one particular practical application of this can be arriving of the trains. Even if you cannot see the train arriving in a station, you can make out whether a train is approaching the station or not if you place your ears along the railway tracks, because the vibrations that are produced by the moving train travels faster along the tracks than the sound travels through air. So this is another application by which we can make out that sound travels faster in solids. Now suppose another example may be if you take 2 spoons, one example is given in your book, take 2 spoons and tap together underwater, keep your ear close to the surface of the water, you will hear the sound. So this means that sound can travel through liquids. Now this is the way by which the whales or the dolphins or the aquatic animals, that is fishes, can detect or communicate with each other, because sound is able to travel in liquids. And since sound is able to travel in through air also, that helps bats to navigate through different places by releasing those ultrasonic sound waves. So this will be all for today's class. In the next class we'll be discussing about some characteristics of the sound wave, that is pitch, loudness and quality, and then we'll be learning about the reflection of the sound waves, as similar as that we see in case of light. So go through page till page number 96 thoroughly and get the concepts clear by reading each and every line thoroughly enough so that you can make out what possible doubts you may have while you are learning. Okay, so thank you children for attending or seeing this tutorial video, and be prepared. I repeat again, be prepared with your lessons, because until and unless you prepare yourselves regularly, you will not be prepared enough for your tests. So keep this in mind. Go through this portion well enough, and we will be discussing about your doubts in the next online class in Google Meet. So thank you.